Welcome everyone. Today I will present Deepcounsel, a multi-agent courtroom AI work, a multi-agent framework for simulating complex courtroom audio environments and generating 10-hour synthetic legal datasets. So let's begin. So the executive summary and context of the work. Let's talk about the executive summary and context of the work. So this is an overview of a synthetic legal speech generation datasets, and the reason being the data bottlenecks, and the technique that is used is a multi-agent innovation strategy. So let's move forward. So the legal data scarcity bottleneck. So let's first discuss about the legal data scarcity bottleneck. So what is the legal data scarcity bottleneck? Basically, there are strict data privacy and sealed records. So legal AI development faces severe data bottlenecks. Court proceedings are heavily protected by privacy regulations, GDPR, HIPAA, and sealed judicial bounds prevent real-world audio sharing. So basically, whatever the real-world court data that is there in terms of audio, there are various privacy frameworks which prevent it from being openly shared with the normal public. And also various types of legal documents are there which are also prevented from being shared with the common public. So these are there are certain data privacy issues. So basically there is no data available for training various downstream tasks for audio data. So basically what we and acoustic and procedural complexity, and courtrooms exhibit complex acoustic anomalies, crosstalk, rapid interruptions, Latinate legal terminology, adversarial dynamics, and strict procedural speaker hierarchy. So these are also some of the issues that we see in legal data, legal audio data. Courtroom exhibit complex acoustic anomalies, crosstalk, rapid interruptions, Latinate legal terminology, adversarial dynamics, and strict procedural speaker hierarchy. So these are some of the issues that are also being observed. So one is the strict data privacy and SIM records, and another is the acoustic and procedural complexity. So these issues form a legal data scarcity bottleneck. So the Deep Counsel synthetic solution is 10-hour multi-agent speech corpus. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a 10-hour multi-agent speech corpus. We propose a multi-agent prompting architecture leveraging Gemini and GPT-4o TTS models to produce 600 minutes or 10 hours of complex courtroom audio. Deep Counsel enables robust training for legal speech to text, role identification, and specialized legal speech LLMs without privacy risks. So basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create speech to text data for role identification and specialized legal speech LLMs without privacy risk. And we are trying to create a 10-hour audio dataset. And we are using models like Gemini 3.1 and GPT-4o TTS models to produce these 10 hours of legal data. Basically, what we are doing is first we are generating the textual data, synthetic courtroom discourse data by prompting the LLMs with a multi-agent framework, and after generating the text data, we are converting it into speech data by using Gemini and GPT-4 based modules. And these can be used for tasks like role identification, speech to text tasks, and specialized legal speech LLM without privacy risks. Legal domain and privacy challenges. So, what we are examining here is the privacy compliance constraints and courtroom speech dynamics. So, privacy barriers and legal compliance. Let's talk about this a bit. Regulatory constraints. Jurisdictional laws like GDPR and HIPAA severely restrict public release of courtroom recording. Sealed testimony and protected juvenile trials cannot be digitized for OpenAI research. So, there are various regulatory constraints like GDPR and HIPAA which prevent public release of courtroom recording, the real courtroom recordings that happen in the court, and the testimonies are sealed and and also protected for juvenile trials which cannot be digitized for OpenAI research. So basically the different types of juvenile crimes that have happened, data regarding that is also being prevented for open release, and so that data is also not available for research. So these are some of the regulatory constraints that are there. And the synthetic data solution is generating high fidelity synthetic transcripts and audio bypasses regulatory non-disclosure bounds while preserving authentic procedural structure and acoustic realism. So basically, we are trying to create a synthetic version of this data which is not available, and also trying to preserve the authentic procedural bounds and acoustic realism. So these are the various things that we are trying to do. One is the regulatory constraints, another is the synthetic data solution. Now coming to courtroom proceedings characteristics. Number one is rigid protocol. So court trials follow strict linear stages: discovery, swearing in, direct cross-examination, objections, closing arguments, and verdict. So these are the different rigid protocols that are followed. Discovery, swearing in, direct or cross-examination, objections, closing arguments, and verdict. Next is the Latinate vocabulary. Heavy reliance on specialized legal terms: sub poena, mens rea, certiorari, habeas corpus, which cause high word error rates in traditional ASR. So this is another issue. And adversarial dynamics: high stakes interactions marked by emotional friction, rapid objections, abrupt interactions, and varying vocal intensities across speakers. So these are also things that are happening. Adversarial dynamics, which is like high stakes interactions marked by emotional friction, rapid objections, abrupt interactions, and varying vocal intensities across speakers. So let's move forward. Next is the multi-agent system architecture, exploring the three-tier generation pipeline and agent orchestration model. So we are basically using a multi-agent system architecture for exploring the three-tier generation pipeline and agent orchestration model. The three-tiered synthesis pipeline. So coming to the three-tiered synthesis pipeline, tier one is persona assignment, which configures system instructions, legal constraints, and acoustic attributes for 11 distinct courtroom roles. So this is the tier one persona assignment, which is configuring system instructions, legal constraints, and acoustic attributes for 11 distinct courtroom roles. Next is the tier two script orchestration. Gemini 2.5 models manage state machine flow, enforcement of evidence rules, and objection handling. And next is the tier 3, so multimodal synthesis, audio generation using Gemini 3.1 and GPT-4o TTS with precise voice profiles and acoustic text. So these are the different things, three-tiered synthesis pipelines that is involved. Next is the 11 autonomous courtroom roles. Number one is the judicial court. So these are the different autonomous courtroom roles that are being used by the agentic structure. So judicial code is the in terms of it can be divided into multiple categories. One is the judicial code, that is the judge, rules on objections, maintains decorum, and so that is the work of the judge. Next is the court clerk, administers oaths, manages records. Next is the bailiff. So duty of the bailiff is room security and decorum control. Then there are adversaries. The category of adversaries include process. So first we discussed the people who are directly involved in the judicial court, that is the judge, court clerk, and bailiff. Next we come to the adversaries. Who are the adversaries? One is the prosecutor, who has the aggressive, evidence-driven voice generally. Defense attorney, who is generally skeptical, protective, uses dramatic pauses, and defendant, who is stressed and short responses. So these are some of the adversaries that are available. And then you go to the next category: support and gallery. Witness, who involve expert or layperson. Interpreter, which involves literal one-to-one translation lag. And reporter or jury or gallery, which involves acoustic observers. So these are basically different portions of the support and gallery section: witness, interpreter, and reporter or jury or gallery. So these are the different autonomous courtroom roles. Next is the supervisor agent, trial clerk role. So the supervisor agent involves state machine orchestration, acts as the official trial clerk and orchestrator, maintaining rigid chronological linear trial progression, discovery to testimony to closing to verdict. Next is the protocol verification, which enforces rule-based event sequences, example swearing in witnesses prior to testimony, and initiates turn-taking markers across active agent dialog block. So these are the two things that are happening: state machine orchestration and protocol verification. Next, we move to the judicial neutrality and rule setting. Constant judicial authority. The judge agent is bound by judicial neutrality. It cannot introduce new factual evidence and must only sustain or overrule objections based on evidence. And adversarial objection logic. Prosecution and defense agents operate under specialized objection logic, automatically triggering objections when opposing counsel uses leading or hearsay questions. So next, let's move on to the next one. So the next one is knowledge silos and legal auditing. preventing information leakage and enforcing strict legal boundaries in AI data. So let's move on to this. Mitigating omniscient leakage. In real trials, witnesses and defendants have partial case visibility. Deep counsel enforces strict knowledge silos, so agents only access designated case subsets. Prevents witnesses from inadvertently revealing global facts or internal state knowledge reserved for attorneys or the judge. So these are the different knowledge silos that we have used. Next, we move to the critical agent legal audit system. Behavioral and legal auditor. An independent critical agent audits every generated dialogue segment before TTS synthesis, checking for procedural drift, protocol breaks, and tone errors. Confabulation intersection. Cross-reference cited statutes and case law against the discovery document to catch and intercept hallucinated legal claims in structured JSON. Next, coming to the multimodal speech synthesis, that is voice profiling, acoustic parameters, and speech generation engineering. So basically, let's discuss this point. So the agent voice profiles and direction involves judge, resonant deep pitch, unhurried cadence with stern text. So these are the voice profiles basically. Once we have created the text textual data or the legal discourse courtroom audio data, legal discourse text data, next we are trying to convert into voices. Judge and defense. So judge involves resonant deep pitch, unhurried cadence with stern text. Next defense, which involves theatrical baritone with trailing ellipses for strategic poses. Prosecutor and defendant. Prosecutor involves high velocity zero post gen padding for immediate interruptions. Defendant, which involves shaky air control, native, anxious shutters. Next is clerk and gallery, which involves court clerk, completely monotone, flat procedural effect. Next is the gallery, pure acoustic tags like murmurs, gasps, and whispering. So these are the various agent voice profiles and detection. Next is simulating interruption and pacing. So acoustic overlaps and crosstalk. By removing post-generation audio padding and introducing 0 millisecond turn delays, the pipeline realistically models lawyers cutting off witness testimony. And there is temporal buffering constraints. The interpreter agent uses a hard-coded 400 millisecond silence buffer lag to simulate natural translation processing time before literal rendering. Next, let's come on to Deepcounsel 600-minute corpus. So basically, it's a landmark 10-hour fully annotated synthetic courtroom audio dataset engineered specifically for legal speech recognition, speaker diaritization, and multi-agent dialogue modeling. So basically, we have created a 600 minutes or 10 hours audio dataset. Now, dataset metrics and breakdown. Metric dimension, total duration, unique speaker voices, acoustic clarity, word error rates, BART score accuracy. GPT-4o engine, 300 minutes, and Gemini 3.1 engine, 300 minutes. Total combined dataset length is 600 minutes. And for both datasets, we use unique speaker voices, 11 distinct voices. So there are 22 unique voices, and acoustic clarity for GPT-4o has been obtained to be higher than Gemini 3.1. Word error rate for GPT-4o is lower than GPT 3.1. This is shown to be better, and BART score accuracy for GPT-4o is higher than Gemini 3.1. So basically, these are the different things. Human and expert evaluation results, qualitative assessment across legal logic, voice quality, prosody, and immersion. Next is human evaluation scores, GPT versus Gemini, which is legal logic GPT-4o, legal logic Gemini 3.1, emotional prosody GPT-4o, and emotional prosody for Gemini, and authenticity and naturalness. So the scores for legal logic for GPT-4o is obtained to be 4.82. For Gemini, the same score is lower, 4.41. For emotional prosody also, GPT-4o scores better than Gemini, and authenticity and naturalness has an average score of 4.55. Next, coming to the evaluation dimensions breakdown, legal logic and facts. So basically trying to evaluate adherence to courtroom protocols, validity of objections, statutory accuracy, and factual consistency across witness statements. Emotional prosody, which you're trying to measure, is measuring how effectively speaker voices reflect stress, judicial authority, counsel assertiveness, and gallery reactions. Next is the ambient integration, which assesses physical courtroom acoustics, reverberation realism, background gallery murmurs, and seamless speaker transitions. Next, we move on to the technical speech quality metrics, quantitative analysis via ASR, acoustic features, and phonetic alignment. Next is the metric name, word error rate, character error rate, word info lost, BART score. So GPT-4o synthesis involves lower word error rate and character error rate, and lower word info lost, and lower BART score. So these are the different things which are obtained. And Gemini 3.1 has higher word error rate, higher character error rate, higher word info lost, and higher BART score. So these are the different things which are observed. So let's move on to the acoustic quality metrics, FAD and UTMOS. FAD, FAD is lower for GPT-4o and higher for Gemini. And UTMOS, so for UTMOS, we obtained that lower score is obtained for Gemini and higher score is obtained for GPT-4o. And GPT-4o dominates in technical audio clarity with a fetched audio distance of 0.015 and higher UTMOS naturalness scores. So let's study the legal hallucinations. So basically, we observe different types of hallucinations like procedural drift, where agents speak out terms, ignored sustained judicial objections, or leak testimony past the judge's order to strike from record. Then there are legal confabulation, which is the attorneys or witnesses invent fraudulent statutory codes, non-existent precedent cases, or falsified exhibit details during argument. Temporal errors, anachronistic references, or mixing chronological facts from trial discovery phases out of sequence during cross examination. Hallucination auditing via whisper V3 transcription auditing. So basically, audio outputs are retranscribed using whisper V3 model to compare generated speech transcripts against the original multi agent prompt scripts. Manual expert review. Legal practitioners manually audit sample size to verify that critic agents constantly successfully catch hallucination loops and personal leaks. So thank you for attending the Deep Counsel workshop presentation. So we are ready for any questions and discussions, and we have also made the Deep Counsel dataset and code available on Zenodo. Thank you for listening to us.